all of you, myself Dr. Vijender Singh on YouTube channel VSBoora at the rate of Zoology. Today we are going to discuss digestive system of Amphioxus or Branchiostoma. The digestive system is encased in coelomic cavity and the arterial cavity. We discussed coelomic cavity in the previous video, and now we are uh, going to understand the atrium space, which is also enclosing the digestive system. The arterial cavity or atrium is a very large body space other than coelom, lined by an arterial epithelium of ectodermal origin. It is formed by a pair of metapleural folds, one on either side above the gill slits of embryo, growing downwards and united ventrally by a transverse fold, thus enclosing an outside space lined by ectoderm within the body. In the adult, the atrium surrounds the pharynx and the intestine laterally as well as ventrally. In Branchiostoma, gill slits open into atrium and not directly to the exterior as in other chordates. In turn, atrium open to outside through a small rounded mid-ventral aperture that is known as arteriopore, lying just in front of the ventral fin. Posteriorly, atrium further extends behind the arteriopore as a blind pouch on the right side of intestine up to anus. Anteriorly, atrium projects into each dorsal coelomic canal on either side of pharynx, forming a brown funnel or arteriocoelomic canal whose function is not clear. The atrium protects the delicate pharyngeal regions. It is the space which is surrounding the pharynx or pharyngeal region, digestive system of the Amphioxus. On dorsal sides, there are two coelomic tubules. These two tubules are in pair. These are present on either side, dorsolateral side of the pharynx. The atrium cavity open into this canal, coelomic canals, via funnel that is known as brown funnel. In this diagram, you see that is midgut. This one, it is the midgut. It is surrounded by coelomic cavity. This one, it is the coelomic cavity, and on lateroventral side, this coelomic cavity is again surrounded by the space that is known as the arterial cavity, whose floor region having small papillae that is known as renal papillae. These are responsible for the excretion of certain nitrogenous waste components into the arterial cavity. It is the diagram at the dissected at the level of arteriopore, and it's showing that this one, it is the midgut. It is surrounded by, that is the coelomic cavity, and arterial cavity is reduced in space and it open to outside via arteriopore just in front of the ventral fin on lower side or mid-ventral side. The digestive system consists of an alimentary canals and digestive glands. Alimentary canals includes mouth, pharynx, and intestine and anus. And the digestive gland, it is the diverticulum of the midgut, that is the intestine, which is also known as liver, and its diameter varies in different parts. First of all, we discuss about the mouth. Mouth is a large oval median aperture situated anteroventrally below the rostrum or anterior most tip of trunk. It is bordered by frill-like membrane, that is the oral hood. This one, it is the oral hood. Buccal cirri, these are present on the free edge of oral hood. Their number are 10 to 11 pair. These are stiff, slender and ciliated oral hood or oral cirri or buccal cirri papillae. Their number increase with age. The buccal cirri and edges of oral hood are internally supported by stiff gelatinous skeletal rod. It is also present in these tentacles or buccal cirri. The buccal cirri form a sieve or filter to prevent entry of large particles with food current. The oral hood encloses a large funnel-shaped cavity called buccal cavity or vestibule into which opens the mouth. As the cavity is lined with the ectoderm, it is regarded as stomodium and its external opening the true mouth. This space it is known as vestibule or buccal cavity. The epithelial lining of oral hood forms 6 to 8 this 6 to 8 uh, pairs of finger like folds or patches, each formed by a ciliated groove, these having ciliated groove within it, and their margin also having cilia on their surface. These cilia are uh, responsible for forming the water currents. This structure overall is known as wheel organ or rotatory organ or Muller organs. The cilia of wheel organ set up a vortex or whirling water current to sweep food organism into mouth. Mid dorsal one, this one, mid dorsal one groove is largest, which ends in a small depression, that is the small depression on the roof of buccal cavity. It is the roof of buccal cavity, or and at this site it is the depression. This ciliated groove is known as Heschek's groove, and this pit, this one pit, this pit, it is known as Heschek pit. Both are ciliated, glandular, and secrete mucus, while pit is also considered a sensory organ of unknown function. In this diagram, there is elaboration of presence of Heschek's groove in the roof of vestibule. This one, it is the roof of vestibules, and at this roof of vestibule it is depression where Heschek's groove is present, and its tip region result in formations of Heschek's pit. This diagram also explore the presence of uh, buccal cirri, oral hood and vestibules, that is the buccal cavity, and the wheel organ on the roof or on the surface of roof of buccal cavity. First of all, it is the extended part that result in formation of rostrum due to highly extension of the notochords. At the free edge of oral hoods, there are skeletal rods. These skeletal rods are stiff and support these tentacles, which are sensitive to water chemical nature. It is the roof surface, this one roof surface of vestibules. On their surface, this one roof surface, on their surface there are certain patches of fold of epithelial layer. These epithelial folds having groove within it, and these groove having cilia. The middle one, mid dorsal one, it is highly extended, that is known as Heschek's groove, and having a pit at their tip region that is known as Haschek's pit. These finger like projections along with groove and Haschek pit, uh, Haschek's groove result in formations of a structure that is known as wheel organs, which are responsible to create a vortex of water current to trap the food particles. Posteriorly, a vestibule is bordered by a skin, vertical extension of the skin that is known as velum. This one, it is the velum. It having sphincter muscles to close the uh, opening that is known as introstome, which is formed by velar tentacles. These are velar tentacles. These velar tentacles are present on uh, posterior side, posterior side of the vertical skin-like ring structure that is known as velum. The vestibule is closed by a circular ring-like vertical membrane that is velum, perforated by a central circular aperture that is the introstome, leading into pharynx behind. At this site, it is the pharynx. The introstome is normally called mouth by some author, but does not correspond to the mouth of other chordates because it open into pharynx, which is lined with endodrum. The true mouth always open into stomodum line with the ectoderm. The velum is provided with a sphincter to open or close the introstome. The posterior border of velum is produced into 10 to 12 slender like tentacles. These tentacles are known as velar tentacles. They are also served to strain the water current entering through the introstome. It is the elaborated structure of the velum, or that is velar ring, this one velar ring, and it is the sphincter. Circular muscles are present in this sphincter, responsible for opening and closing of the introstome, that is the space introstome. On their posterior side of velar ring, there are extensions of tentacles. These are known as velar tentacles. Posteriorly, velum open into pharynx via introstome, and now we discuss pharynx. Pharynx is a very large, spacious, and laterally compressed chamber forming the largest part of alimentary canal. It occupies nearly one half of anterior part of the body and remain suspended in the arterial or peribranchial cavity, which surround it on all sides except the dorsal sides. The lateral wall of pharynx are perforated by 150 to 200 pair of closely and obliquely set narrow and vertical openings. These openings are known as branchial aperture or gill slits or gill clefts, through which pharyngeal cavity communicates with the arterial cavity. Gill slits bear no gills on their uh, and their number increase with age of the animals on posterior side of the pharynx. These new gill slits are added toward the posterior side of pharynx. The portion of pharyngeal wall between two adjacent gill slits is known as branchial lamellae or branchial lamella, or that is the gill bar. A gill bar consists of a ciliated epithelial covering, both ectodermal and endodermal, enclosing a mesodermal core containing fibrous connective tissue. blood vessels, and a supporting gelatinous skeletal rod. Ciliations over the gills bar is not uniform. The outer or arterial surface is covered by sparsely ciliated ectodermal epithelium. Cilia covering the endodermal epithelium of anterior and posterior surface are long and dense, and these cilia are known as fetal cilia. Cilia present on a narrow tract of endodermal epithelium on inner or pharyngeal sides are especially long and called frontal cilia. It is the structure of wall of pharynx which having large number of oblique gill slits. These gill slits having no gills. The space between gill slits, this space, it is the wall of the pharynx, and it is also known as gill lamellae. That is also known as primary gill bar or gill slits. This is the structure of wall of pharynx. It having a large number of gill slits. These gill slits having no gills. The space or the wall of pharynx between the gill slits, this wall between the gill slits, it is known as primary gill bar or primary gill lamellae. These primary gill bar or primary gill lamellae, it is supported by primary gill rods. These primary gill rods are gelatinous and stiff and support this lamellae. The gill rods, in case of primary gill rods, on ventral side it is bifurcated. You see another gill rod, this one, it is not bifurcated, it is the secondary gill rods, and the lamellae, it is known as secondary gill bar or tongue gill bar. You see in the next diagram the formations of secondary bar or secondary gill rod and secondary gill slits. It is the primary gill slits, and this one, it is the primary gill bar. This one, primary gill bar. On dorsal sides, a extension of tongue bar take place having secondary gill rod, this one secondary gill rod in this tongue bar, it extends downward direction from dorsal to ventral side and completely extend it up to the ventral side, and this extensions of tongue bar result in formations of secondary gill bar. That is, tongue bar result in formations of secondary gill bar, or secondary gill bar also having gelatinous skeletal or rod, that is known as secondary gill rod. That is secondary gill rod. Secondary gill rod having no bifurcation at the tip region, but primary gill rod having bifurcation or forked at the tip region. And the gill slits after partition is known as secondary or adult gill slits. It is the primary gill slits. This one, it is the primary gill slits or embryonic pharyngeal gill slits, and it is the secondary or adult gill slits. on uh, and this one, this partition part, it is the extensions of the tongue bar, which result in formations of secondary gill bar having inside secondary gill rod. These primary gill slits are also again divided by horizontal extension of uh, bar rod. These are known as synapticuli. In this diagram you see the structure inside uh, what is present in primary and secondary gill bar. This one primary gill bar and this one it is the secondary gill bar. Primary gill bar having on inside surface large number of cilia, these cilia are present, and at tip region these cilia are highly extended, these are known as frontal cilia. Same type of cilia are also present on secondary gill bar and frontal cilia also present on the front secondary gill bar. It is the surface, this one surface, it is surface that is known as pharyngeal epithelial surface, and this surface is arterial epithelial surface. Arterial epithelial surface also having cilia on their surface. These are present on the primary and gill bar. These are present on primary and secondary gill bar. But the size of cilia present on pharyngeal epithelia, these are different types, that is the lateral cilia and these are frontal cilia. It is the skeletal rod present inside primary and secondary. It is skeletal rod, this one skeletal rod. It is the primary skeletal rod, it is the secondary skeletal rod. This skeletal rod enclosing a coelomic cavity in case of primary gill bar, but in case of secondary gill bar, the coelomic canal is absent at this site. Blood vessels is present in both the gill bars, primary and secondary gill bar. It is the mesodermal core, it is also mesodermal core. Blood vessels at their tip region also present, at this site also present. Blood vessels at tip region, at base region, tip region, base regions. But coelomic canal is present only in primary gill bars only. The gill bars and gill slits are present on lateral sides of pharynx wall, but the bottom surface of the pharynx, it is having highly ciliated structure or track and there are no gill slits are present. This structure is known as endostyle. Just like in case of Herdmania, it extends mid-ventrally along the entire floor of pharynx. It forms a shallow groove with 4 longitudinal tracts of mucus secreting glands cells alternating with 5 tracts of ciliated cells. The cilia of median tract are the longest. Endostyle is supported below by 2 gelatinous skeletal plates under which is present subendostylar coelomic canal containing the ventral aorta. It is endostyle and this one is its elaborated diagram. You see here that there are ciliated tracts. These are ciliated tracts, and in middle one tract having large number of cilia, that is the median cilia. At the bottom it is supported by a skeletal plates. This one, it is a skeletal plate, and on ventral side it is the coelomic canal, that is known as subendostylar coelomic canal, which is enclosing ventral aorta. This one, it is the secondary gill bar, or this one, it is the primary gill bars having these blood vessels at their bottom. In pharynx region, in roof, there is a epipharyngeal groove. This one, it is epipharyngeal groove, or it is also known as hyperpharyngeal groove. It is prominent with dilated groove and present mid dorsally along the roof of the pharynx. Posteriorly, it runs up to the esophagus opening. There is also a peripharyngeal veins. These are a pair of narrow ciliated tracts arising from the anterior end of endostyle. They run obliquely upward and backward, one along either lateral wall of the pharynx, to unite dorsally with the anterior end of epipharyngeal wall. These bends demarcate a small anterodorsal prebranchial region of the pharynx devoid of gill slits. Now, esophagus. Posteriorly, pharynx open into a short, narrow, and tubular esophagus having ciliated internal lining and leading into gut or intestine. This one, it is the intestine, midgut. Midgut part, that is the intestine. The intestine is as long as the pharynx. It is suspended from dorsal body wall by a dorsal mesentery into the arterial cavity. It is covered by a thin layer of smooth muscles, and its internal epithelial lining has several ciliated tracts. The intestine can be differentiated into three parts: anterior, laterally wider part of the midgut. A large blind pouch or diverticulum arise from the junction of esophagus and midgut toward right side. The lining of midgut on right lateral sides bears a crescentric lateral ciliary tract. The its cilia beat downward, directing food into the midgut diverticulum. Midgut is followed by a densely ciliated ileocholic ring whose ciliary action rotates the mucus cord containing food. The hindgut that follows in narrower. Its terminal part or rectum is heavily ciliated and opens to outside by anus. Anus, this one, anus, it is small circular aperture controlled by a sphincter. It open at the base of caudal fin, uh, little left of the mid ventral line. Now it is the turn of digestive glands, that is the midgut diverticulum. This one, midgut diverticulum, often referred to as the liver, is the main digestive gland. It arises as a blind pouch from the ventral junction of esophagus and midgut and extend forward into arterial cavity on the right side of pharynx up to the one third of its length. It is surrounded by a narrow coelomic cavity. Its inner lining has strong ciliary or ciliated groove for the movements of food. Its zymogen cells secrete a number of digestive enzymes besides the epithelial lining of intestine. Also contains numerous gland cells. that secretes digestive enzymes. Thank you. Hopes like, comments, subscriptions, and share. Thank you.